joining us once again from The Athletic, Bleacher Report, The Fan in Denver, of course, NFL Network, worked at Philadelphia with those ties. James Palmer on the D&M Leasing Hotline here on Shan and RJ. Good morning, James. How are you?
I'm good, gentlemen. Congratulations. I think you got a good one. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, why are congratulations in order, in your opinion?
Yeah, this has been a rising star, honestly, if you ask coaches around the league and coaches that know Christian really, really well. And obviously I was here in Denver when he was hired. And you always look at coaches, specifically position coaches, when there's regime changes, and that's happened a lot in Denver over the last several years, and Christian was always one of the very few coaches that remained. He was brought in by Vic Fangio, and I always heard the story where, defensive coaches love to pick Vic Fangio's mind, and that was something Christian wanted to do, obviously, like every other young defensive coach. And when he first got a chance to meet Vic, I was always told that Vic was kind of blown away because he wasn't just asking for Vic's, knowledge and almost have, him go and just spew everything he knows and almost just take advantage of the conversation. Christian contributed a lot to that conversation when they first met before he even landed in Denver and really impressed Fangio about his acumen and what he knew about defensive football. So Vic brings him into Denver, and then obviously Vic ends up departing and he stays because Nathaniel Hackett wants to keep him. That situation didn't go well. Even after, actually, remember when that defense got 70 points put on them in Sean Payton's first year by the Dolphins. There was a lot of buzz, honestly, that Vance Joseph was going to be let go pretty quickly in that first year. And the name I was hearing in the building was like a young guy about 30 years old was going to be the guy who was going to replace Vance Joseph if he was going to be let go mid-season, and that was Christian Parker, and Shan kept him. And then when Vic got back to Philly, I say back to Philly because he's from there. And so he wanted Christian Parker back, and Sean Payton did not want to let him go. And that's how much Sean thought of him and what the work he was doing with Pat Surtain. And that was a back and forth between Philadelphia and Denver, to my understanding, because both teams wanted him so badly. And Philadelphia definitely had to do a lot to bring him there. And you've seen the success, obviously, recently he's had in the division. So this is a guy that other coaches that I believe are some of the best in football on the defensive side of the ball think the absolute world of Christian Parker.
What type of person do you know him to be?
So I would say that the best traits that Christian has, and just from the conversations I've had with him over the years, are he's an unbelievable communicator of what he wants to get across during the week. The players have always known exactly what their role, what their assignment, what they need to accomplish that week is displayed to them extremely clearly. He evaluates talent really, really well. I mean, the two guys that, I know obviously a lot goes into drafting players, right? A lot of people have a say. The process is lengthy throughout the entire thing. But early on, my understanding was he made a very clear statement that we need Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. He thought Quinyon was the best corner in the draft. He thought Cooper was the best football player in the secondary in the draft. I don't know if a lot of people thought that about Cooper DeJean, but he did. And he's kind of, from my understanding, really the one who pushed for both of those guys to be drafted, pushed hard. And so to me, that's how does he impact you in the draft process? Because Dallas needs some players on that side of the ball. He evaluates talent really, really well. But communication to me is a big part of what he does. And he knows, you ask him about any player, like any receiver, he will tell you everything about that receiver off the top of his head. Like it's pretty remarkable what he can kind of digest and know, but the communication part's the part that stands out to me.
James Palmer, co-host of Scoop City on The Athletic, joining us here on 105 through the Fan. I think that's one of the things that people are kind of curious about is you talk about the communication and I guess the relatability, but the idea of you've got this 34-year-old coach who's supposed to be coaching guys around his age, and when we hear about guys who are so bright and so intelligent in those areas, sometimes it's like, all right, well, are they going to have the personal relationship style? Is he somebody that not only is a good communicator, have you noticed him to be somebody who players really do connect with and respect and say, yeah, even though we're around the same age, you are an authority figure that I really respect?
Yeah, I'd say Slay's a good example of that. I mean, I think Slay was older than him, wasn't he, when he was coaching him in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
And so I think Slay really understood that very early on. I think it's hard not to when you start talking to him. I mean, there's some people that when you talk to them about something that you know very well, and right away you go, oh, they know their bleep really well. Okay, like I can trust this. That's kind of the way Christian comes across when you talk to him about defensive football. Like that's why those veterans, not just young guys. You're right. He has a great imprint on young corners, and he's had a lot of success on whether it's Alexander up in Green Bay when he was with them, Pat Surtain, and obviously in Denver and Q and Coop in Philadelphia. But when you look at veterans that have respected so much of what he says, because he just understands it so well, and it comes across really well. So to earn that respect from older players, I think he's very good at doing that very quickly, just because like the communication part is one thing, right? Like when you communicate with players, but he communicates it so clearly and succinctly that when you're having that conversation, you're just feel like, oh, I get it. Like he's not talking over your head, but also you're like, this guy might be the smartest guy in terms of defensive football that I'm talking to, but he's putting it in a manner in which I understand it. I understand both of those very quickly when I talk to him. That's kind of the way veterans that I've talked to have felt.
James Palmer is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and the Denver Broncos lost last week. And you have a choice between Christian Parker and Jim Leonard. Who is head coach James Palmer picking?
Man, everything you've heard me say about Christian, I think kind of tells you exactly, where I'm kind of leaning. I think obviously the youth is a big part of it. I think the energy he brings, I mean, the guy never leaves the facility. I'm not saying anything against Jim in any sense, but I'm saying the things that I know about Christian are the things that the best defensive mind, in my opinion, in football right now, Vic Fangio envies and covets, and that's what he's always wanted in his right-hand man in Christian Parker. So I'm going to go with CP. That's kind of the guy I would probably go with, considering the evaluation process in the draft that he's very valuable to in Philadelphia and places he's been, and because of what he can do during the week in terms of preparing your players. I think one of the things, and real quick, I just thought of this, is like he knows how to not overload players, and I think that's a big part of football is understanding what each guy can handle. And, all these guys are different, right? Everybody can handle a different amount each week. And to understand how much each guy in each week can handle, I always thought that was something that Christian was very good at, is going, this guy can handle all of this week, so let's give him that. This guy can't handle that, but he can handle these things and play really, really fast and well. Let's do that. And understanding your players, to me, from that standpoint, I think gives Christian an edge.
James Palmer, NFL Insider, right here on Shan and RJ, D&M Leasing Hotline. What is the latest on Leonard? Is he waiting on, obviously the Broncos are still in it, but have you heard that he's leaning towards Harbaugh, leaning towards another job, or maybe waiting to see if Vance Joseph gets one?
Yeah, I think that's part of what's at play here. I mean, I was in that locker room, yesterday, and actually real quick, Surtain grabbed me and said, hey, I got to text CP, man. I'm so happy for him. Like, he deserves it. He's been ready. That's what Surtain, the best corner in football, said to me yesterday. So I do think in Denver, there's a lot of waiting. Honestly, there is. I mean, we know because of the situation being in the championship game where guys can't really get spoken to. I think there's teams that are sitting there waiting to schedule their second interview with Davis Webb, in all honesty, and in person in round 2 with him. That's the way he's impressed. So I think people are looking to see what's going to happen in that building and who they may go with. I think there's some buzz in there where if Vance Joseph leaves, who does he take with him? Who slides into his spot? I think there's always been the thought that Jim Leonard would slide into his spot if he ended up departing for a head coaching job. So I'd say there's still a lot of moving pieces inside that Denver building. But if you had me take a guess in Dallas, I would think it was JG had a shot, but Christian was always kind of the leader in the clubhouse from that first interview where he impressed that group he met with over Zoom really, really well, I was told.
James, when we talk about somebody like Christian Parker, who's been in the NFL now for 7 years, it's not a very long time, and there's going to be this question of building out a staff. Would you expect he's going to lean on, his relationships with Vic Fangio or Mike Pettin or whoever else, and just kind of say, hey, do you have a beat on anybody that how do you expect him to approach building out a staff when he maybe doesn't have the deep connections of some other candidates?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I know that's something that he's been working on, and most guys that have been, looking to get into that coordinator role and make that jump from position coach usually have on a tablet or an iPad or something in some way of the guys that they're connected with and who they want to work with. I would say he knows a lot of people in the NFL, even though you mentioned it's only 7 years. Like, he knows a lot of people. He knows guys like, he crossed paths with Jesse Minter in the college ranks. Like, he knows a lot of people. in terms of because of how aggressive may not be the right word, but like how aggressive he is towards gaining knowledge from other coaches. He loves having conversations with other coaches. So he has probably more relationships than most guys that are 7 years into the league have. So I would say that net's probably a little wider, and I don't know all the names, obviously, but a little wider than probably most people think for a younger coach.
Will he jump at the first chance to be a head coach, or is he young enough to where he could be picky about it, and you think he would be picky about the right fit?
Man, we're already making him a head coach.
Yeah, we are.
That's RJ's word. RJ doesn't want to lose a coordinator to a job that quick.
I don't want to do this 5 years in a row.
No, understandable. I would say, like, most coaches have aspirations of being a head coach. I was talking to a position coach that, was on a staff, and this won't give anything away because there's 10 head coaching openings that's on a staff that was just let go. And he was like, man, I'm looking for another position coach, and I thought I'd be looking for a head coaching gig by now. I mean, everybody has those aspirations for sure. And I think, you would say Christian probably has those as well. But I do think he's paced himself really well in terms of where he's gone. And he's always tried to gain as much knowledge from each stop to where he's been. So, I mean, you can't stop a guy if a team approaches them going like, he finds out that they're really high on him. Like if you're Davis Webb, like I mentioned, and you're 30 years old and teams are looking like the Raiders or others, maybe the Bills are still interested or now interested. Are you going to pass those interview opportunities up? No, you're definitely not. You're not going to go, guys, I'm not ready. Sorry. That usually doesn't happen in the NFL. But I do think he has a pretty good pace to his career about where he's at and everything that he knows he needs to learn and gain as a DC, moving on from the, more or less running the entire secondary as well as the corners in Philadelphia.
Jarrett Stidham's chance of winning this game are what?
Oh, guys, I think they're just going to rip it. I really do. I think they're going to let you out there and just rip it. Like, yes. I really do, because Shan is playing with house money right now, right? It's like, we got a backup quarterback. They got a guy who's an MVP candidate. Defense for the Patriots is playing outstanding right now. Like, we're going to throw it. Like, that's what I would think ends up happening. And if you were just given a blind just view and you showed up at every single training camp practice over the last 2 years in Denver, I would say you would go, Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, almost identical, slightly to Jarrett Stidham. I would say if you watched every single training camp practice between the two of them. And so they're pretty comparable. And so I wouldn't put it past Sean Payton to have some stuff dialed up to be aggressive and do some things for him. Now, offensively, they're a little shorthanded, and we'll see if Dobbins can come back. But I don't think Jarrett Stidham would be the sole reason they lose the game if they lose today.
James, you also have some insight on the Eagles, I know, and we've already referenced Vic Fangio. Why do you think it is, and if you've heard anything in terms of people you've talked to around the league, why is the Eagles' offensive coordinator job seemingly so tough to fill right now?
I think I would go back, honestly, to Kellen Moore 2 years ago. And when Kellen came in, everybody was in Philadelphia going, the offense is going to look different. This is, all right, here we go. We got Kellen Moore. He's been in some great spots with some great quarterbacks. You guys know Kellen really well. And then everybody was going, why does this look exactly the same? Like, Kellen Moore's not doing anything different. This looks like the offenses that we've seen. I just say that wasn't because Kellen couldn't run this. Like, Kellen didn't want to run the stuff he wanted to run, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Kellen had to run the things that they ran. Now, is he a good coach and just got a head coaching gig? For sure, because I think he is a very good coach and found ways to win with probably some of the things that they have to deal with playing football on the offensive side of the ball.
Is that Jalen Hurts not being a great quarterback?
Hey, you said it, not me. I think.
Well, but it does seem like I'm partially having fun with you. But why are people afraid to say it?
Well, I think Jalen is probably, and I mean, I think you guys have probably dealt with this with Dak a little bit. Like, Jalen's probably one of the most polarizing players in the NFL.
Yep.
People's opinions on Jalen Hurts are just embedded on one side or the other. Yep. Like, I can't stand him. He's completely overrated. Or, why do you guys dislike this guy? All he does is win on the biggest stage. I mean, like, I remember hosting the NFL 101 Awards, which is like the longest award show in NFL history, run by the Hunts. And I'm sitting there with Jalen Hurts after he lost to the Eagles, and Andy Reid's on stage with me going, the best performance in the Super Bowl I've ever seen. saying it to Jalen Hurts in front of 2,000 people. The best Super Bowl performance I've ever seen. So there's moments like that in big stage moments, and he even lost that game. If you remember how well he played against the Chiefs, even though he lost in that first matchup. So there's those things where you go, how can you dog him? But at the same time, I do think every quarterback has weaknesses and strengths, and I think Jalen's weaknesses, if you ask offensive coaches that have worked with him, make you play football in probably a very specific way. Can you win that way? You certainly can. The Eagles have won a lot of games. But I do think there's an aspect where you kind of have to run certain things and can't run other things as the OC there. And I do believe, when you look at somebody like Zach Robinson, who was looking at that job, maybe potentially interested in that job, and takes the job with Baker Mayfield in Tampa, is maybe a little bit telling of where they stand right now.
James, that was as exciting and insightful an interview on Christian Parker as I think is going to be conducted in the Metroplex. Phenomenal by you. Thank you, and enjoy the game this weekend.
Appreciate it, guys. Take it easy.